Imagine signing up to reshape, like, the entire fabric of the cosmos.
Right, a massive undertaking.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to erase all global borders. You're going to usher in 1,000 years of divine, world-altering harmony.
Sounds pretty good so far.
It does. But then you find out your headquarters is a 10-acre farm in Canada, and you still have to pay property taxes.
Yeah, that is, I mean, it's the ultimate collision between administrative reality and this massive cosmic paradigm shift.
Exactly.
You just don't usually see municipal zoning plans, intertwined with the salvation of humanity.
Which is exactly why we had to get into it today. So welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We are so thrilled to have you listening with us as we examine a truly just a remarkable primary source document.
It really is.
It's a formal proclamation. It's dated September 29, 2017, and it's written by a figure named Sufeng.
Right.
And what this document does is announce the birth of an intentional community called the Lifechanyuan Canada New Oasis for Life Community.
Quite a title.
It is. But before we get too deep, I want to lay down some ground rules for you up front, because this document does outline the formation of a very specific ideological and spiritual movement.
Definitely. We need to be clear about our approach here.
Yeah, so we are exploring this text entirely impartially. We are not here to endorse their theology, and we aren't here to criticize their viewpoints either.
Right. Our focus is purely analytical. We're essentially looking at this founding text as a blueprint.
Exactly.
Right? To understand the mechanics of utopian thinking. Like, how do groups structure these massive appeals? How do they frame their solutions to modern everyday problems?
Yeah, like what specific kind of language do you even use to convince people to drop their entire lives and build a completely new society from scratch?
It's a huge ask.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. Because honestly, the sheer magnitude of the opening claims in this text is completely staggering.
Staggering is a good word for it.
I mean, this isn't just a ribbon-cutting ceremony for, like, a community garden. Shui Feng declares that this specific day, September 29th, 2017, marks the absolute first year of a 1,000-year Lifechanyuan era.
Yeah, they are literally hitting the reset button on the human timeline.
Completely.
And they scale up the stakes immediately. So the text claims that from this day forward, the universe itself.
Wait, the universe?
The weather patterns, nature, and all human societies will begin evolving specifically toward the manifestation of this new era.
That is just, wow, the weather is getting in line with their ideology.
That's the claim. And the ultimate goal stated here is the complete dissolution of national boundaries.
Right, a totally borderless world.
Exactly, allowing global citizens to move freely. And the believers, who are referred to in the text as Chanyuan Celestials.
Chanyuan Celestials, right.
Yeah, they dedicate this entire endeavor to the greatest creator, as well as to, all Buddhas, saints, sages, and celestials throughout history.
So they are throwing just a massive conceptual net here. You've got the weather cooperating, global borders evaporating, and this direct line to the supreme master of the universe.
It's comprehensive, to say the least.
But the detail that really anchored this for me, the mechanism that just makes this document so fascinating, is the physical staging ground for all of this.
Oh, yeah. The location.
Because this focal point for the transformation of global society and the cosmos is literally 10 acres of farmland.
10?
One single residence on a modest plot of land in Canada. It's like announcing you're taking over the governance of the entire galaxy.
But your headquarters is a rented studio apartment.
Yes, exactly. It's jarring.
What's fascinating here is how this utilizes a very specific, historically proven utopian framing.
Oh, really? So this isn't a new tactic?
Not at all. When you look at the architecture of movements that attempt to build perfect societies, there is almost always this extreme discrepancy between the earthly project and the cosmic timeline.
I have to imagine that discrepancy is a feature, not a bug, right?
How do you mean?
Well, if you just announce, hey, we're starting an agricultural commune where we share resources, people are going to leave the second the tractor breaks down, or if it rains for a week straight.
Right, because farming is hard.
The physical reality of farming is grueling. But if you tell them they are initiating a 1,000-year divine era,
I see.
Suddenly a broken tractor isn't just a broken tractor. It's a test of their cosmic resolve.
That is, yeah, you've hit on the precise psychological mechanism at play there.
Yeah.
Because a 10-acre farm doesn't cure the modern condition on its own.
No, it just gives you calluses.
Exactly. The text explicitly says they are flying the banner of revering life, nature, and the greatest creator, and that their goal is to establish a brand new life mode.
A completely divergent way of living.
Right, completely divergent from traditional society. Because if a founder believes the modern world is fundamentally broken, offering a slight lifestyle adjustment just isn't enough to capture
A
followers.
yoga retreat isn't going to cut it.
No, you have to offer a complete, systemic rescue mission. Connecting their 10 acres to 1,000-year destiny signals to potential recruits that their daily grueling labor has universal significance.
It's a way to manufacture infinite meaning out of very finite resources.
Very well put.
Which I guess leads us to the logistical blueprint of this whole rescue mission. Because despite all that grand cosmic rhetoric, the text actually provides a surprisingly grounded, step-by-step physical roadmap for this Canadian property.
It does. It gets very practical very fast.
Yeah, like they acknowledge they are starting with just one beautiful residence, but the expansion plans, I mean, they read like a municipal developer's dream board.
The blueprint is highly detailed. From that single house, they plan to develop working farms, extensive gardens, a hotel, an entertainment center, and an exhibition center. And all of this infrastructure is designed to eventually house and sustain a population of between 100 and 300 people.
And not just any 300 people. The document heavily emphasizes the specific demographic makeup of this future population.
Right? It's very intentional.
It dictates that this will be a big international family made up of people with different skin colors, representing a wide variety of religions, cultures, nations, and ethnic groups.
The intention is to create a localized melting pot.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because if your ultimate 1,000-year goal is to prove that a borderless, unified global society is actually possible, well, you have to build a functional prototype.
You have to show it working on a small scale first.
Exactly. Those 100 to 300 diverse individuals living happily together on one farm serve as the microcosm. They are meant to be the living proof of concept for their universal theories.
See, I get the logic of the prototype. I really do. But I was reading through this master plan, the hotels, the exhibition centers, feeding 300 people every day, and the obvious problem just hit me.
The financing?
Yes. Who is paying for the lumber? How do you fund a post-capitalist utopia when you still exist inside a Canadian tax bracket?
It's the classic utopian hurdle.
I mean, the greatest creator doesn't cut checks for the utility bills, right?
Not last I checked, no.
Yeah. And then buried right there in the text, here's where it gets really interesting. They reveal their immediate funding and recruitment mechanism.
This part is amazing.
They are running a bed and breakfast.
It is a phenomenal pivot in the text.
It is. It's so wild. You are reading these soaring, ethereal declarations about bringing pure souls to paradise, and then you just hit a sentence that essentially says, reservations are required to stay here.
Just right there in the middle of it.
It's this brilliant collision of divine destiny and the everyday hospitality industry. But my immediate thought was, is this genuine ideological outreach, or is this just a desperate need for cash flow?
A fair question.
Because building utopias is notoriously expensive. Are we giving them too much credit for what might just be a clever zoning loophole to run a boutique country hotel?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the bed and breakfast detail actually solves multiple structural vulnerabilities that every utopian community faces simultaneously.
Okay, how so?
Yes, the friction of existing inside a traditional capitalist world means you desperately need cash flow. You have to pay those property taxes.
Right.
But the text doesn't frame the B&B as a mere business transaction. It states that anyone who comes to stay is actively supporting this great cause, and it explicitly invites guests to share values and ideas.
So it's not just a vacation for them.
No, it's making the B&B a tool for cultural exchange and, ultimately, recruitment.
Oh, wow. So it's like a tech startup using a freemium model for salvation.
A freemium model.
Yeah. The cosmic 1,000-year era of borderless harmony is the premium vision, but booking a weekend stay at the farm is the accessible, free trial to get you into their ecosystem.
That is an excellent analogy because it really highlights the dual purpose of the enterprise. It operates as a financial engine, sure, but more importantly, it functions as a psychological filtration system.
A filtration system?
Think about the recruitment strategy here. If you just hand out pamphlets on a street corner, you attract a lot of non-committal people.
People who will just throw the paper away.
Exactly. But if you require a financial transaction up front, like booking a stay at a secluded country B&B, you are immediately filtering out the drifters.
Oh, that's smart.
You are guaranteeing that anyone who walks through your door has already invested time and money into the experience. They are inherently open to alternative retreats.
So you essentially curate a captive audience of people who are already seeking some form of escape.
Precisely.
They show up for a quaint country breakfast, and the pancakes come with a side of cosmic realignment.
Exactly.
You book a weekend getaway to look at the trees, and you might just stumble into the first year of a new global era.
And once they have that curated audience in the door, the community has to deploy a very specific rhetorical strategy to convert a tourist into a believer.
They need a pitch.
They have to hit an emotional nerve.
Which brings us to the final and perhaps the most surprising section of the proclamation.
Poet.
Yes, the poetry. To pitch this new life mode, the document doesn't just rely on the sci-fi concept of a borderless global society. It abruptly leans heavily into ancient Chinese poetry.
It's quite a tonal shift.
It really is. The text actually quotes these beautiful classical lines. It talks about wanting mansions covering 10,000 miles to house poor scholars and make them smile.
A beautiful image.
And it quotes this famous imagery about picking chrysanthemums under the eastern hedge and gazing at the southern mountains.
So the syncretic philosophy of the group really becomes visible in these poetic choices.
Syncretic meaning they're combining different beliefs.
Exactly. They are synthesizing very different cultural and philosophical traditions into a single narrative.
Now, I understand blending philosophies, but to me, the specific imagery they chose feels completely contradictory to their own blueprint.
How do you mean?
Well, on one hand, Xu Feng is talking about building a bustling international hub. We are talking about 300 diverse people running hotels, operating entertainment complexes, hosting a constant stream of international tourists.
Right, a lot of foot traffic.
It sounds incredibly loud and busy, but on the other hand, the poetry they quote celebrates absolute agrarian isolation.
It goes.
It explicitly promises a life far away from the noise of dense traffic, where the only sounds are wind and rain. You can't have a bustling international exhibition center and also be a silent hermit picking chrysanthemums. Those two things don't go together.
Well, this raises an important question about who this text is actually written for and what psychological deficit it is promising to fill.
Okay.
You have to look past the literal infrastructure and focus on the emotional core of that poetry.
So the mansions and the chrysanthemums aren't literal blueprints for the farm. They are emotional targets.
Precisely. If you are listening to this deep dive on your commute right now, sitting in gridlock, that promise of a life far away from the noise of dense traffic probably sounds incredibly appealing,
Oh, absolutely.
regardless of the cosmic baggage attached to it. The poetry is targeting a very specific, universal human exhaustion. We live in a hyper-connected, fast-paced, economically stressful world.
And that line about the mansions covering 10,000 miles to house poor scholars, that isn't just about enjoying nature.
No, it's not.
That is addressing economic anxiety. It's a promise of sanctuary for the intellectually exhausted or the financially strained.
Yes. The grand cosmic claims earlier in the text, changing the universe, erasing borders, those are the intellectual hooks. They provide the scale and the grand purpose. But the poetry...
The poetry is the emotional hook.
Exactly. It grounds those massive abstract ideas in a very recognizable human, longing for simplicity, security, and quiet.
That makes total sense.
By synthesizing these elements, they're offering a buffet of historical comforts. They mention revering the greatest creator, they nod to Buddhas and sages, and they deploy ancient agrarian poetry, all while building a modern community in Canada.
It's an attempt to take most comforting, peaceful elements of various human traditions and synthesize them into a single ultimate cure for the modern headache.
That's a great way to put it.
They wrap this incredibly disruptive, radical goal, literally erasing all nations and changing human society in the comforting imagery of a quiet mountain retreat.
It softens the blow.
Right. It makes a radical social experiment feel safe. It feels like coming home.
It is a masterclass in utopian messaging. The imagery of geese flying over the sunset, leading pure souls to paradise, it just creates this aura of absolute serenity around what is, logistically, a massive real estate and social engineering project.
So what does this all mean? When we step back and view this 2017 proclamation in its entirety, we are looking at a remarkably vivid snapshot of the Lifechanyuan Project's foundation.
We are.
It is an entirely unique concoction of cosmic ambition, multicultural utopianism, ancient agrarian poetry, and a functioning Canadian bed and breakfast.
A very busy bed and breakfast.
And they are completely transparent about wanting to be found. The document even proudly lists 3 different websites at the bottom.
Really, 3.
Yeah. One for Lifechanyuan, one for the new Oasis, and one for their international family. just for anyone whose curiosity is piqued enough to go make a reservation.
And that open invitation is vital to understanding why a document like this matters to you, the listener, today.
How so?
Well, even if you have zero intention of ever visiting a 10-acre farm in Canada, this text serves as a powerful mirror. It reflects our collective modern burnout.
Yeah, that exhaustion we were talking about.
Exactly. The socioeconomic drivers that push people to seek out a new oasis, they aren't unique to this one group. It's an eternal human reflex.
That makes a lot of sense.
Whenever the prevailing society feels too complex, too loud, or too structurally broken, the impulse to hit the reset button emerges. The desire to just find a patch of land, invite a diverse group of well-meaning people, and attempt to build a flawless society from the ground up. It's a recurring theme in human history.
It's like the ultimate DIY project.
Yes.
The feeling of society just isn't working for me anymore, so I'm going to build my own.
And this proclamation is a perfectly preserved artifact of the exact language and psychological framing required to attempt that.
It shows us exactly how humans use the promise of a divine future and the comfort of an ancient past to try and survive a really stressful present.
It reveals the underlying mechanics of how we attempt to engineer hope when the current system feels unfixable.
It really does. But, as we wrap up this deep dive, there is one final lingering contradiction in this text that I just can't shake.
Okay, what's that?
The entire stated goal of this document, the ultimate mission of this 1,000-year era, is to erase global borders and create a single, freely moving, unified human family.
Right, a borderless world.
But to initiate that process, to build that borderless world, they are retreating to an isolated 10-acre farm. And to get onto that farm, they are requiring reservations.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
It makes you wonder, right? Can a truly global, borderless utopia ever be achieved by withdrawing from society? Or does isolating a perfect community inherently create the very walls and borders you are trying to destroy?
That is a profound paradox.
We started this deep dive talking about a real estate announcement that claimed to change the universe. It turns out, whether you are trying to govern the cosmos or just run a bed and breakfast, you still have to decide who is allowed through the front door.
A fascinating contradiction to leave us with. The paradox of building a world without walls by putting up a fence.
Definitely something to think about the next time you try to book a quiet weekend away to escape it all. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.